Richard had a collection of beautiful paintings. One day, while he was away, his favorite one got stolen. The police suspected one of Richard's neighbors. Nicole said she had been out of town. She returned home just an hour ago and was so tired after a long drive that she immediately went to bed. Dennis said he had been getting ready to paint his house, but since it didn't seem the rain would stop anytime soon, he went to the movies instead. Julie answered her sister had been feeling unwell. That's why Julie was busy looking after her little nephew. Who was lying? It was Nicole. It had been raining for the whole day. If the woman had returned home just an hour ago, the road under her car would be wet. A wealthy businessman had two sons, Gary and Jeffrey. The loving father doted on his boys, but unfortunately, he had a lot of enemies who often threatened to harm his sons. One day, Gary was rushed to a hospital. He had been poisoned. Jeffrey, scared out of his mind but feeling okay, went with his brother. When the businessman arrived, he asked Jeffrey what had happened. "We were playing soccer and got awfully thirsty. Some man gave each of us a bottle of water and we drank it all. But then, how come Gary is in a hospital bed, poisoned, while Jeffrey is fine?" The water the boys drank was okay. The poison covered the bottlenecks. Unlike Gary, Jeffrey didn't touch his bottle with his lips while drinking. Kyle has been caught by a mad professor and locked in a room with only one door and no windows. Is the scientist going to experiment on the poor guy? Kyle has to get out of there as soon as possible. After searching the room, he finds 4 keys. On the door, there are 4 keyholes with a number under each of them. Kyle has to match the keys and keyholes, and there's hardly any time left. The professor's car has just stopped near the house. The digits on the door match the number of the angles the geometric shapes on the keys have. 3 people were stopped at the security check of an international airport. They were suspected of smuggling different stuff out of the country. The first man was heading for a beach resort. In his suitcase, there were a lot of things needed at the seaside: an umbrella, a pair of sunglasses, sunscreen, and a beach towel. The second man had a cage with 3 colorful birds and a pet carrier with a family of hamsters. He had all the necessary papers. The third man was traveling for business. In his bag, he had a suit, some documents, a toothbrush and toothpaste, and a bottle of expensive shampoo. Who's the smuggler? It's the third guy. He's bald. Why would he need shampoo? Young fashion designer Robert was preparing for his first show. He was excited and a bit anxious, so he took a break to steady his nerves in a quiet corner. But when it was time for him to present his collection, he was nowhere to be found. In an hour or so, a security guard saw him in the bathroom, lying on the floor. Someone had hit him on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Maya, one of the models, said she had had problems with her dress. "I didn't even have time to leave the dressing room." Catherine, one of the guests, answered she was Robert's huge fan. "I've been wearing his clothes for years. Why would I hit him?" Sam, the designer's assistant, said he had rushed to the nearest coffee shop to get Robert an Americano to calm him down. Can you figure out the culprit? It was Catherine. That day, it was Robert's first show. Then how could she be wearing his clothes for years? Ethan and his girlfriend Anne went to explore a cave and got lost. After some time, they came across 2 people, a man and a woman. The man, bearded and rough-looking, had a shovel in his hands. "I've been stuck here for a week. I know how to get to the surface. "But I need your help. Come with me." The young woman exclaimed, "Don't trust him. He's a criminal. Follow me. I've been here longer than him. I know where the exit is." Who should the guys believe? Ethan and Anne decided to follow the man. If the girl had been in the cave for more than a week, why does she look so tidy and has fresh flowers in her hair? Mickey wakes up locked in a basement. The guy has no idea how he got there, probably through a hatch in the ceiling. There are also 3 doors leading out of the room. Behind the first one, there's a deep pit with metal spikes at the bottom. The second door leads to a lake with hungry piranhas. And behind the third door, there are crocodiles. Suddenly, the room starts to fill with water. Which door should Mickey choose to escape? He should pick the first door. Once the pit is filled with water, the guy will be able to swim over the spikes. Adam's car has gotten broken right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing? It's winter, snowdrifts are huge, and the wind is freezing cold. Adam has to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he follows the first path, he'll have to deal with hungry wolves. The second goes through the area inhabited by bears. And if he takes the second road, he'll have to cross a river covered with thin ice. Which is the safest way? Adam should sneak through the bears' territory. These animals sleep in the winter. Lauren has cooked 10 buckets of chicken wings for a family gathering, 1 for each guest. But later, it turns out little Jimmy has been left without his portion. Someone has taken 2 buckets. Is it Uncle Patrick? He looks suspicious. Or maybe Lauren's son Justin. He's wearing this creepy, knowing smile. Or could little Jimmy himself hide his chicken wings in his bag with toys to get another portion? Look at the dog. It wouldn't leave Uncle Patrick's side. It can smell the meat the man has hidden. Look at these 2 girls and their fridges. One of them has never had enough money until recently, when she won the lottery. Which girl is that? It's the girl on the left. High heels, a flashy dress, and a fridge filled to the brim. She looks like a person who has finally managed to get their hands on some big money. Lisa was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her dad trying to control her life. After he told her one day he'd found a fiancé for her, she decided to run away from home. She took enough money and the most discreet car she could find in the garage and left. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back. That's why she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. One day, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said her room number was 710 and offered to show her where it was. Lisa immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in the car, and sped away. Why? The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 710 is supposed to be on the 7th floor, but the hotel only has 2 floors. A little girl walks through the park and spots a hungry cat. She decides to share her sandwich with the poor animal. Unfortunately, there's a stream between her and the kitty. She squats down to attract the cat's attention and shows it the food. In no time, the animal is next to her. There's no bridge over the stream, and the cat isn't soaked. How is it possible? it's winter, and the stream's frozen. Ooh, Halloween is coming close, and Detective Marlin has his hands full with all kinds of creepy creatures and mysterious cases. Hopefully, you'll help him crack these frightening riddles.
Yeah.
A scared store owner called Detective Marlin. He said there was a vampire in his store. When the detective arrived, he didn't see the store owner, but there were 3 other people inside. Look at them attentively and help the detective figure out which one is a vampire. Well, the first one's eyes are red, but it looks as if he didn't sleep well at night. The second one is freezing. All parts of his body are covered with some pieces of clothing. But look at the third one. He's drinking something red from a glass using a straw. He must be the vampire the detective is looking for. Now, where is that store owner? Look at this family very attentively. Detective Marlin was invited to their house to figure out in the body of which family member a ghost is hiding. Soon he found the answer. How about you? Admittedly, the woman does look scared, but it has nothing to do with the ghost. She just choked on some food. The man is wearing dark glasses, even though he's indoors. But he's blind. Do you see that white cane the blind use next to him? That's why he's got glasses. The granny is the one you need. There's a trace of ectoplasm that goes through the whole room toward her. One day, a very pale woman covering a bite on her neck with her hand approached Detective Marlin. She said that when she had been returning home the evening before, someone had attacked her and turned her into a vampire. She wanted to find the culprit. The detective found 3 suspects. Look at them and find the one that has turned the woman into a vampire. This man is quite old and has no teeth, so he can't be a vampire. This woman has tan marks, but vampires can't sunbathe. So the man wearing a hat and gloves must have turned her into a vampire. Now, Detective Marlin is walking through a park when he notices 3 men sitting on a bench. He immediately realizes that one of them is a ghost. Can you guess which one? The first man has a pale complexion. The second one is just wearing loose, oversized clothes. The ghost is the man whose leg is going all the way through the bench. Two husbands suspect their wives were werewolves. They invited Detective Marlin to find out the truth. The detective examined the women's bedrooms and realized that only one of them was a monster. Which one? This bedroom has a scary atmosphere, all dark with posters of rock bands on the walls. The second one is pink and very feminine. But have you noticed scratch marks on the floor in the bed? The woman who lives here is a werewolf. Detective Marlin's next case is no less tricky. A priceless mirror, 6 feet tall, with a beautiful silver frame, was stolen from a legendary haunted house. The main 3 suspects are the Halloween monsters last seen in the house, a witch, a vampire, and a werewolf. Can you help the detective figure out the culprit? It was the witch. Silver is known to harm werewolves. The werewolf wouldn't have touched it. Vampires can't see their reflections, so the vampire wouldn't have any need for the mirror. The only one who might need this mirror is the witch. Detective Marlin is exhausted. He's been working so hard that he decides to treat himself to a cup of coffee. When he enters the nearest coffee shop, he sees two guys. They wear similar clothes, hold steaming coffee cups, and in general seem to be perfectly fine. But the detective immediately understands that one of them is a werewolf in disguise. Which one? Look at the guy on the right. There are strange marks on the rim of his cup. Are they left by his fangs? Also, his pupils are a bit elongated. And there is a paw print design on the coffee shop paper bag he's holding. Wait, is it a special establishment for werewolves? Detective Marlin suspects that one of his old friends is immortal. One day, he's invited to a small party one of the men hosts. He's standing in the corner, looking at his three friends sitting by the fireplace. And suddenly, it dawns on him. Have you figured out which man is immortal too? The man on the left looks very old-fashioned. The one in the middle is reading a book in Latin. And only the man on the right seems to be very young. But look at that picture on the fireplace. It must have been taken on the day when the Eiffel Tower was opened. But the man is there too, and he hasn't aged a day since then. Last night, on a full moon, several people disappeared in the city. Detective Marlin questioned locals and found out that they believe the culprit was a werewolf. Soon the detective had three suspects, Jack, Levi, and Luke, but all of them had alibis. Jack said he had been walking with his girlfriend near the river. Levi had been choosing a silver ring for himself in the mall. And Luke, who worked as a museum guard, had a night shift at work. So, which guy is guilty? Jack was walking under the light of a full moon and didn't turn into a werewolf. Levi wasn't afraid to put on silver rings, even though this metal harms werewolves. It means that the werewolf and potential culprit is most likely Luke. Once, Detective Marlin found out about a strange case. A man who was visiting the city heard about a cursed house. A vampire and a beauty were said to live there. And since the rumor had it that the beauty was held in the house against her will, the traveler decided to help the girl. But when he was talking to her, she suddenly shouted, "The vampire is returning! We have to hide in the basement and lock the door!" And so they did. But in the morning, the man still found himself turned into a vampire. How was it possible?
Yeah.
It didn't take the detective long to realize that the beauty herself was the vampire. Detective Marlin's wife was decorating their house for Halloween. She sent her husband a message asking him to buy something with a leg, an arm, and a head, but without flesh or eyeballs. At first the man was confused, but soon he realized what his wife wanted. Have you figured it out too? Mrs. Marlin needed a skeleton. The next day, the detective got a new message from his wife. This time, he needed to get something wrapped, but not a gift. It had to be something kept neatly in a chamber, which archaeologists considered a great treasure. What did Detective Marlin have to bring home? Mrs. Marlin wanted to use a mummy to decorate the house. A zombie, a mummy, and a ghost bought a house. It has lots of different rooms, but there's one room you will never find there. What is this room? It's the living room. Look at these two ladies. Which one seems suspicious? It's the woman on the right. Her reflection is all wrong. She's not human. Look at these people dancing at a costume party attentively. You need to figure out who is a werewolf. It's that guy in the corner. He's wearing a human mask, but his thick hair is peeking from underneath the mask. Some people believe in me and others don't. At night, I roam around, and sometimes I float. If you hear a troubled noise coming from the ground, go run and hide from my creepy sound. What am I? I'm a ghost. Some people fear me. The more of me you have, the less you see. What am I? I'm darkness. I'm thought to bring bad luck. I blend in the night, and I'm known to mingle with witches. What am I? I'm a black cat. Meow.
Edward and Stan are best friends. Edward lives with his wife, Leah, and Stan lives alone. Can you spot Stan's house? There's a love note on the fridge in the right kitchen. Therefore, Stan lives in the left one. Edward is furious because Leah cleaned his home office without permission. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. A lot of neighbors gather for Edward's garage sale. One of them is a robot. Can you guess who? This gentleman. Stan is visiting a food court and finds 2 similar bakeries. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Over here. What about these burger places? Can you find 10 differences? Here they are. Can you spot a mistake in this menu? Tuna isn't an ice cream. What about this coffee menu? Any mistakes? Free toppings have a price. Stan works in an agency that holds super secret investigations. They're looking for people with superpowers all over the planet. One day, an anonymous user broke into their corporate system where all the data was stored. Stan finds 3 suspects who are capable of such crimes and interrogates them. He asks only one question. What did you manage to find out when you stole the data? Billy says, I haven't done this kind of crime for 15 years. I don't want to go back to prison. Anna says, I was going to steal your data, but I changed my mind. You didn't have any valuable information. Nobody will believe in superheroes. And Liam replies, Bruh, if I committed such a crime, I would have covered all traces. Who's lying? Anna. She couldn't have learned the secret information without breaking into their system. Stan is visiting a fashion show. He received a clue that one of these models can be a robot. Can you guess who? The second lady. She has a USB outlet on her neck. The robot model, Nina, is very famous, and nobody knows that she's not human. Stan invites her to his office. Nina confesses, I arrived from another planet to study human behavior. Unfortunately, someone recorded their secret interrogation and posted it online. Only 4 people were in the office at that moment. Stan questions them. Ryan, the cleaner, says, I was vacuuming the 5th floor and couldn't hear anything. Mia, the manager, says, I'm a huge fan of Nina, even though she's not a human. I would never set her up like that. And the guard, Billy, says, I didn't hear your conversation. I was watching a football match in my headphones. Who's lying? Ryan. Their office is a 4-story building. Nina invites Stan over for dinner. She lives in a big, circular house with a maid, a butler, and a gardener. Nina goes to her room to change. Suddenly, Stan hears her scream and runs to her. Oh no, someone broke into my safe and stole my diamond necklace. Stan interrogates the staff. The butler says he was organizing the library. The maid says that she was dusting the corners. And the gardener says she was watering the roses. Who's lying? The maid. She was dusting the corners, but Nina lives in a circular house. So there are no corners. Stan invites Nina to a fancy restaurant to refute rumors that she's a robot. Can you spot any mistakes in this menu? They confused pomegranate with meat. Stan leaves the table to wash his hands and returns in 2 minutes. Can you spot 5 changes? Here they are. Nina slips and falls on the floor. Now she needs to replace a broken fragment in her body as soon as possible. Stan takes her to a secret lab. They need to enter a 3-digit code to open the door. He starts looking for clues and notices some tips written on the wall. But the last digit is erased. Can you help them crack the password? The digits indicate the points of intersections of the lines. So the last digit is 4. They open the door and enter a spacious hallway. A note on the wall says, Lab is behind the purple door. Can you help the guys find the purple door? The first door is wooden, but it has an inscription and an arrow indicating that the purple door is on the right. The second door is painted blue and red, so it doesn't fit. Let's take a closer look at the third door. There is purple color under the layer of yellow paint, so the guys choose this door. Nina throws a party at her house and invites Stan. He receives an anonymous message. There's a werewolf among the guests. Can you find this person? The first lady is wearing very long nails, and the second guy has a heavy beard. But it doesn't prove anything. But let's take a look at the third lady. She's trying to hide her shiny yellow wolf eyes under her fancy sunglasses. In the kitchen, Stan meets 3 chefs preparing delicious meals. One of them is a criminal. Can you guess who? The third lady. She's adding glass fragments to the food. Stan calls the police and they arrest the third chef. She confesses that one of the guests, John, bribed her. He asked her to put glass in Stan's plate, but there are 3 Johns at the party. The officer asks one of them just one question. How do you know Stan? John 1 says, I'm a billionaire and I don't do interrogations without my lawyer. John 2 says, I came here to see Nina because she's my crush. I've never seen Stan before. And John 3 says, Stan and I went to the same college. I haven't seen him for many years, but today we met by chance. Who's lying? John 1. He's wearing a fake Gucci sweater. It's unlikely that he's a billionaire. The next day, Stan wakes up in a dusty basement. A creepy voice says that Stan can pass through one of these 3 doors. Behind the first door, there's a tank with crocodiles. Jungles full of wild animals are hiding behind the second door, and there's a giant blue whale behind the third door. It can easily swallow an adult human. Which door is more or less safe? Stan should pick the third door. Whales can't survive without water. Therefore, it's not a threat. Stan returns to his office and finds out that someone has stolen the most expensive superhero costume from the lab. Only 3 people knew about this artifact and had a key: Mia, Billy, and Rose. Stan questions everyone. Mia says, I was feeling sick yesterday, so I went home. Billy says, I locked the office at 10 p.m. and carried my key with me. And Rose says, I carried out technical testing of the suit in the afternoon. After that, I locked it up and left. Who stole the costumes? Mia. She's wearing a superhero costume under her clothes. Stan offers Mia a deal. If I write your exact weight on a piece of paper, you'll give the costume back. Mia agrees and gives Stan a piece of paper and a pen. In a minute, she returns the costume. How did Stan do it? Stan literally did what he said. He wrote the phrase, your exact weight, on the paper. Stan needs to find new investors for his agency. That's why he's meeting 3 people, and each offers Stan a deal. Mallory says, I used to have unique superpowers when I was little, but I didn't develop them. Now I'm old and rich, and I want to invest in your lab to help people like me. Cherry says, my parents left me billions of dollars. I want to invest in progressive projects. And Alfred says, look, I can help you develop your agency, but I want to have a controlling stake and hire my own staff. One of them is a liar. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at Mallory's hand. She's a robot. Therefore, her story is a lie, because robots don't age.